welcome to my channel and welcome to another art class. This one is going to be about an art movement, more specifically about Cubism. As usual, I'm going to start with an introduction about the movement. I'll share the main characteristics, who started. I will highlight some artists, I will show you some important paintings, and then I will challenge you with an exercise and I will demonstrate how I would respond to the exercise. That will be basically a still life drawn in a Cubist style. Now, before getting started, I would like to ask you that if you enjoy these classes, whether you have watched the previous ones or it's your first time here, if you enjoy it, please share with your friends and family so this content reaches more people. Thank you, and let's get started. So Cubism was born in Paris in the beginning of the 20th century, around 1907, and it lasted until 1914 when the First World War started, and it was pioneered by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque. They had this desire of breaking from traditional perspective and naturalism that dominated Western art since the Renaissance. So they wanted to break these rules and create something new. They took inspiration from Paul Cézanne's idea of reducing nature to cylinders, cones, and spheres. So this idea of geometry was very, very important. And they also took inspiration from African, Iberian, and Oceanic art, especially masks and sculptures, as we're going to see in some of Picasso's work. Now I'm going to highlight a few main characteristics. Drawing from multiple perspectives, so objects depicted from different angles at once. It was very, very important. Geometric reduction, breaking forms into cubes, cones, spheres, and planes, as I mentioned before. Flattened space, no traditional depth, foreground and background overlap. So this idea of creating depth and space in the picture didn't exist in Cubism because everything was on the foreground. Then limited color palette, especially in analytic Cubism, which was the first years of the movement. They used more browns, grays, muted tones for focus on form, because they understood that if they applied very bright colors and strong colors, that the focus would be the color and not the form, and they didn't want that, so they opted for these muted tones. Then collage and mixed media in a second part of Cubism called synthetic Cubism, where they use newspaper, wallpaper, labels integrated into paintings. So this introduction of everyday objects into the paintings was groundbreaking. Then it was abstracted but not fully non-representational. The paintings, they were still based on real-world objects like instruments, bottles, and figures. These are the main artists of the movement. Pablo Picasso, co-founder, and his Les Demoiselles d'Avignon that he created in 1907 was considered the proto-Cubism spark, so the first painting of the movement. Georges Braque, that collaborated with Picasso from early on, and they developed the analytic Cubism. Then Juan Gris, a Spanish painter that appeared later. It had a more structured and colorful approach to painting. And then Fernand Léger, which incorporated mechanical and industrial forms into the Cubist language. Now I'm going to show you some important masterpieces. Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, as I mentioned before, was the first painting of Cubism, and here we can see some of the characteristics that I mentioned before, the geometric forms of the bodies, the angles, the lines. We can also see the muted colors, the use of browns, even though we have some blue here, but mostly browns. And very important, if you look at the faces, we can, of course, see the inspiration from the African masks. Then this one is by Georges Braque and is called House at l'Estaque. It was made in 1908. It was an early Cubist landscape, and this one has a very interesting story. That is, Georges Braque submitted this painting to an exhibition, a very important exhibition in Paris. And Matisse and Louis, which was a critic, Louis Vauxhall, they were part of the jury, and so they were selecting the paintings that would be on the exhibition. And when Matisse saw this painting, he looked at Louis and said, "Oh, look, Braque submitted this painting with little cubes," and they made fun of it. And then later Louis, which was an art critic, wrote about it and mentioned this idea of little cubes, and this was how the name Cubism was given to the movement. So it came out of like a joke that some artists were making, and that's how the name Cubism was born. And then we have this still life with can chair made in 1912 by Pablo Picasso, and it marks the beginning of synthetic cubism. Here we can see the introduction of everyday objects into the paintings. This pattern that we see on the bottom left side of the painting is a collage, and also the rope around the canvas was applied later. And so this combination of these everyday objects with the painting and also the written words that appear in the painting mark this new phase of Cubism. And it's important to say that this introduction of these objects in painting was really, really groundbreaking at the time. Then we have a painting by Juan Gris, a portrait of Picasso. It has clear forms. It is part of the synthetic cubism style, and yeah, we can see that the painting is more bright and more colorful with these blues, in opposition to other paintings that were made early on. And then we finish with a painting by Fernand Léger, The City, that was made in 1919. Even though Cubism was over already, this painting is still considered Cubist, and it emphasizes modern life. We can see that it's much more colorful. It looks like a collage, a bunch of elements pasted in the painting, and we can see also some industrial elements in this painting. So artists wanted to show multiple viewpoints at once, representing the essence of the object rather than their realistic appearance. It was about truth in perception, not just visual likeness. Cubism redefined art's purpose, from copying nature to analyzing and reconstructing reality, setting the stage for abstraction and modernism. Now it's time for the exercise. It will take around 2 hours, depends on how fast you work. The idea is for you to create your own still life. You can use bottles, glasses, fruits and other objects to build it. Then we will draw using charcoal on an A3 sheet of paper. We will focus just by drawing. In the beginning we'll just draw lines, like the contour of the objects, and we will draw a few lines, and then we change perspective and add a few more lines, and then change perspective and draw more lines. So to start building the composition and this multiple perspective view in one drawing. After that, then we will add shadows and finish the drawing. Let's get to it. the class has come to an end. I hope that you had enjoyed it. If so, click the button below. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this approach, if you found it challenging, because drawing in this multiple viewpoint approach is a bit mind-bending. So let me know in the comments how you felt. And as I said in the beginning, if you enjoyed this video, please share with your friends and family so it reaches more people. If you enjoyed it and want to keep watching more videos like this, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.